Hello, this is a range input, in case you didn't know. I coded over 100 of these, starting with early February 2015 and until mid-March of the same year. And now I could run myself over with a train for doing so. The solutions I chose were hacky and unreliable. The first solution stopped working by late February, so that's within a couple of weeks. And then I had to try to find a workaround, another fix, another hacky solution, which worked for a while, and then it stopped working. Then I was left with over 100 demos, broken for the most part, and somehow they got insanely popular and they kept being shared and forked. And oh my, I caused all of this. I've caused all this really, really bad code to spread like disease. And that's why I feel really guilty. And there's no way I can fix them now while maintaining this one range input constraint. So what I'm going to do today is try to fix this first one that I ever did by dropping this constraint, one element constraint, because it just doesn't work anymore. And you might think this doesn't look broken at all, this actually looks pretty nice, but that's because you don't know what it's supposed to look like. I know what it's supposed to look like, and this is not it. And also, while it doesn't appear broken in Chrome, it actually appears broken in Edge, and that's due to this wonderful bit of code right here, which I don't advise anyone to use these days. So what I was doing is I used Modernizer, which added this class to Edge. To IE, sorry. This is from the old IE days. Now Edge doesn't get this class anymore. Edge gets the WebKit class. So using this class, there's no way to differentiate between Edge and WebKit browsers anymore. So don't use this technique for Edge. It breaks things. Okay, now to show you what it's supposed to look like. So it's supposed to have this text indicator of the progress. And the way I did this initially, it was with the deep shadow DOM piercing combinator, or something like that, I guess it was called. So this is what my selector looked like, and this is what allowed me to go through the shadow DOM barrier and add an after pseudo element on the track, so that I could add that text inside my pseudo element. And it showed up nice and everything for a couple of weeks. And then deep got considered a bug, and it got removed from Blink. Blink browsers were the only browsers that ever supported it, but as I said, they removed it in late February 2015. And then I noticed that it was actually possible to build up a selector like this, and it worked. This didn't work at first while deep worked. It worked after. Don't ask me. And it only worked for a while because now this obviously stopped working as well. So yeah, enough blabbering. I should start coding something. So I'm going to keep a lot of the styles. But first of all, let's do the structure. So here I'm going to use a preprocessor, and I'm going to use the current value, which is 75 initially. Here I'm going to have a form with a custom property in the style attribute. So this is going to be the value, and I'm going to need to interpolate it. Here I have an input. I'm going to give it an ID. Okay. Next, I'm going to have an output for my range input. And here I'm also going to interpolate this volume. And it gets interpolated differently because this is in the attribute. And this is in the attribute, and this isn't. It's in the text content. Okay, now that I've done this, I can move on. And I'm going to take quite a bit of the styling. So the visual part, not much is going to change there. I'm going to keep most of the stuff. What I'm going to keep this. let's make this. So if the fill is contained within the track, so if the fill is contained within the track, so true, I'm going to add some styles here. Okay. Now I'm going to collapse this. I'm not going to need this stuff. Okay. I think I can collapse the fill as well. Now moving on to the body, I'm going to set margin 0, height. Okay, I'm also going to set display flex, align item center, justify content center. Okay, so this should do it for the body. Now I'm going to take these styles and I'm going to use them on the body. Just the background and the blend mode. Just to make stuff more visible here. And this also applies to the edge. The eye thing is stupid now. Okay, then I'm also going to have some styles for the form. Okay. And I'm also going to set a font, let's say, and this is going to be the track height, which I need to interpolate, because otherwise SAS is going to attempt to perform a division, so that would be bad. Okay, so this should do it pretty much. And what I want to do here is increase these values. So let's make it something like this. This is going to go to 2ems. This is going to be the track height. Okay. So this actually looks good, and I don't think I'm going to make any other changes to it. Now let's move on to the range. That somehow sounded like deranged. Which a lot of controls actually are. I'm going to make this margin. Increase this so that we make sure we have absolutely no problems in the edge. Okay. One more thing I want to do here is font inherit, because it's inconsistent across browsers otherwise. Then I'm going to have an output, and this is going to have color, a light gray, very light gray. Let's make it like this, and I'm going to take a lot of styles from the track. So that's going to be from the height, pretty much everything else. I'm going to make some tweaks to the background. So this is going to be the base. Okay, and I'm also going to give it a width. And I'm going to have an after content. That's going to be a %. Okay, next thing I'm going to do is let's put the focus in there. Not exactly what I had in mind to do first, but let's get this out of the way. think this is a bit exaggerated. Let's make it smaller, and let's add some transparency, partial transparency. Okay, this should do it. Okay, I can't exactly click it, but we're going to see a bit later. Now let's add the styles for the track and all that. So these are the styles for the track. Let's see it now. Okay, let's add them for the fill and the thumb, and we're going to see about the rest later. Okay, so I'm mystified as to why this M's. Okay, that's why it didn't work. Okay, now it works. Okay, now this is a bit wrong, and it also causes problems in Edge. So the thing is, now Edge supports the WebKit version as well, so it applies this, which is stupid because Edge didn't have this broken, but now since I'm adding that margin, I'm breaking things in Edge. So I need to rewrite this, so margin left 0, which is totally stupid, but okay. Now let's change that value when I drag the slider thumb. So I'm going to have constant. This is going to be my range input document. Get element by ID R. Then I'm going to have the output, and this is document query selector output for R. Then I'm going to have the form, and this is the range input, the range inputs parent node. Okay, so this does it. Then I'm going to have add event listener input update. Now Edge doesn't support this input event, so I'm going to need to use change. The problem is that change doesn't work as input in Firefox, so due to this inconsistency, I can't use just one. I need to use them both. So now I'm going to have that function update and here on the form I'm going to change its style to update that custom property where I store the value. Okay, so now I'm going to use this text content. So I also need a way to signal that JS is enabled, because if I don't have JavaScript enabled, what the heck are you doing? Okay, because if I don't have JavaScript enabled, then I can't update that value there. So I don't want to show that thing at all. So I'm going to do something like document element class list add JS. Okay, so this does it. Now when I change this, okay, that's good. So something else I'm going to do here is hide this because it's ugly, and also hide HTML output display none. So that's pretty much it for this. I can collapse this as well. So now this seems to be working nicely, looks pretty good. I would think it should look pretty good in Edge. Okay, let's see. In Firefox, I have a slight problem with the fill. So what I'm going to do is here add a few extra styles. So that's going to be padding left, track padding, and I'm also going to have background clip content box. So this should solve the Firefox problem. And it does. It's kind of hacky, but it works for now, at least. Now, if you see this, I have this nice fill, this gradient fill, and this shows up in Firefox and in Edge because they have these pseudo elements for the fill or progress or whatever you want to call it. But it doesn't work in WebKit browsers because I don't have such a pseudo element. So that's why I have this bit of code here. So what I'm going to do is set the background to the fill background. Then I'm going to have the track background. But this fill background is going to be with some restraints. And it's going to be content box. It's going to be no repeat. It's going to be 0, 50%. And the size is going to be the volume. I'm going to need a calc actually here. And then I'm going to have the fill height. So that's pretty much what I have here. And what I need to do is set this fill on the WebKit track to true. So this kind of does it. And it's not exactly accurate, but I'm not seeing problems here. So I'm just going to leave it like this. It's not exactly correct and accurate, but it seems to work, so I'm just going to leave it like this. This is it for today. You're going to find a link to the CodePen demo in the description below. And if you have any questions or requests for future videos, you can drop them in the comments or send them on Twitter. I hope you've enjoyed this video, and if you have and you want me to be able to do more of these in the future, please consider supporting my work in one of the ways explained in the description, with a donation by getting me something off my Amazon wishlist, or at least by sharing this to show the world what can be done on the web these days, because I think it's pretty damn cool. We can do these sort of sliders just with basic HTML elements and CSS and a bit of JS in this case, but for a lot of other form controls we don't need any JS at all. And I think that's pretty damn cool. And it's also a lot more accessible than replacing everything with divs. In any event, thanks for watching.